Good afternoon, Dubai. How is everyone today? Great. So I was so excited to be invited here, especially for this audience, because I've given a lot of speeches about engineering to young students, and I always show pictures of buildings in Dubai, and they always gasp and have their mouths open, and they're just in awe of the infrastructure that you're building here in Dubai. So it's great to be here with you. I was invited here to share with you about my projects that I've worked on in robotics, in artificial intelligence, in education. I'm not a project manager like you guys, so I think all of you are much better project managers and have much better tools and skills in that than I do. But I have a vision, and I want to make things happen, and so I just do what needs to be done to make my vision come to life. And so I was invited to share that with you today. So to start with, I actually come from Cairns in far north Queensland, Australia. It's near the Great Barrier Reef, and it's very, very isolated. So to get to the nearest city with over 200,000 people, you have to get in the car and drive 19 hours. So if I wanted to see 200,000 people, I'd have to get in the car, drive 19 hours down to Brisbane before I could see that many people. So it was a very small and isolated place. And so growing up, I was really perplexed and transfixed by Google. I thought it was so cool that you could just type anything into your browser and get all of these results given to you. I did normal things growing up, like Chinese lion dancing. And when I was 14, I read my brother's old editions of Time magazine, and I was really inspired by the Google guys who dropped out of university to co-found Google together, and the Apple guys who were 21 and 25 when they co-founded Apple. And it made me think that with technology, you don't need to have a certain amount of money, you don't need to have grey hairs or be a certain age, you don't need to have a certain amount of education. With technology, you just need creativity, your imagination, perseverance, and you can change the world. When I was in year 12, I saw an ad in the school newsletter. It said, interested in maths, interested in science, come to engineering camp. And so over 4 days, I built robots out of Lego, shot water rockets into the sky, and built these catapults that flung ping pong balls. And I learned that with engineering, I could travel the world, work on projects that impacted millions of people, and I'd have to keep developing myself, and it sounded like a really fun and interesting career. But my mum wanted me to do medicine because I'm Asian. There's a stereotype that Asian people should do medicine. And so after I finished year 12, I went down to the big city of Melbourne to do my medicine interview. They said, respond to this scenario. John wants to study history, but his parents want him to do law. What should John do? And so I sat in my seat, and I squirmed uncomfortably, and I said, John should study history, because that's what he's passionate about. The interview ended there, and as soon as I was out of the room, I called my mum and I said, I'm doing engineering, and that's that. Out of my class of 200 students from Cairns, only 3 of us girls went on to study engineering straight out of high school. I thought that because Cairns is such a small and remote place, that when I got to Melbourne, there'd be heaps of people, including lots of girls, just as passionate about engineering as I am. I remember the first week of class, I went into my engineering maths class about 10 minutes early. I sat about 10 rows from the front. I saw some boys walk in, a group of boys walk in, some boys and a girl walk in, and then the lecture started. I thought, you can't start yet, not everyone's here yet. I looked around the theater, and way in the back, there were 15 girls. There were 15 girls out of 150 in my engineering maths class. It took me until the end of my first semester at university before I found all 5 of us girls studying mechatronics engineering and computer science at the University of Melbourne. In my second year at university, I decided that my friends and I should build a robot, just a very simple robot, to learn how to do that. And so I approached the head of the electrical engineering department to ask for some funding. He said he was interested in getting a group of students together to go to a school and teach year 6 girls robotics to get them interested in engineering. I thought, wow, we can make a difference, not just to my class, but all the engineering classes out there. And I thought, if we're going out to one school, why don't we go out to all the schools? And so I set about making a plan for that to happen. I recruited 20 of my friends, 3 of them showed up, and we started designing robotics workshops, calling schools, and recruiting even more people to join us. And that's how RoboGals was founded. We go out to schools with robots and teach kids how to build and program them, while telling them all about careers in engineering and showing them lots of cool pictures of buildings around the world. After 3 months of RoboGals, we taught 124 girls from 4 schools around Melbourne. I then left RoboGals Melbourne to run without me and went on exchange to London to study mechanical engineering at Imperial College London. I thought it would be so cool if we had RoboGals in the UK, then we could be global. But everyone in London seemed so busy and it was such a big city. After 3 months there, though, I realized there was nothing like RoboGals in the UK. There were 15 girls out of 150 in my mechanical engineering class. There were 4 girls out of 120 in computer science. There were 2 girls out of 70 in aerospace engineering. I thought, if I want to make a difference to the young girls here, I need to be the one to do it. No one showed up to the first RoboGals meeting in the UK. And so after about half an hour, I cried. And then I thought, I'm in this really busy cafeteria. Maybe they didn't see me. Maybe they walked in and, then they left. And so I thought, I'm going to try again. So I emailed everyone again and said, we're meeting tomorrow in the classroom across from the cafeteria. That's empty. They'll definitely see me there. So the next day, I waited in that classroom. After 15 minutes, no one showed up. And so I cried again. But this time, I cried a little less because I was growing resilient. I thought, I have another 6 months here in the UK. I can keep doing what I'm doing, or I can try something different to get a different result. And so I emailed everyone who said they were interested and said, when are you actually free? And so the following Wednesday, in the mechanical engineering lobby, me and 4 girls met, and they then went on to spearhead the organization even after I returned to Australia. While I was in the UK, I noticed that a lot of student organizations weren't just in one place, but they tended to be national because the UK is so tiny, and so it's really cheap to get around. It's like £20 to get from London to Bath, or London to Oxford, or London to Cambridge. And so for student clubs and societies, the windsurfing club from London can very easily meet with the windsurfing club from Cambridge, or the cheese society from London could very easily meet with the cheese society in Southampton. Both were very fun activities. And I thought, if RoboGals was national in Australia, we could make an even bigger impact, not just in Melbourne. And so I set about a plan making that happen. I contacted 4 other universities across Australia and invited 6 of their female engineering students to Melbourne for 3 days to learn all about starting the RoboGals chapter. We called that a SIGN, named after the sine wave, and it stands for Seminars Inducting New Executive Committee Members, because we're engineering students and not English majors. After I decided to do this, it took 6 months of back and forth emails to set it all up. I thought, this is so cool. I'm so excited about setting up around Australia. I want everyone to know. Let's hold a press conference. But then immediately after that, I thought, we're just this tiny student organization. No one cares what we're doing. No one cares that we're expanding around Australia. And so I decided we needed to do something different to make people notice. So while I was in the UK, I started brainstorming with my friends. We thought about holding a big flash mob where people do like a dance or a stunt in a public place to draw a smile on people's faces. We thought about hosting Stephen Hawking for a talk or throwing a big party. But those required huge financial outlays, and we didn't have any money. So after months and months of brainstorming, we finally decided that we'd hold the largest robot dance Guinness World Record attempt held in Leicester Square, where all the big movie premieres happen, like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. So now you know how old I am. The only thing is, it took us so long to figure out what we were doing that by the time we figured it out, I only had 1 month left in London. Still, it was after my exams, so during that month, every day I'd wake up very early, try and promote the event, go to sleep late at night, or do the same thing every day. On the day of the event, it didn't look like we were going to break the world record. We needed 270 people to do the robot dance with us, and we only had about 30 that had signed up on our Facebook event. I noticed that a friend of mine was hosting an event at a club that night, and so I gave him a call and said, "Can we do our robot dance at your club?" And he got really excited. He's an entrepreneur. He made some phone calls, but then said, even though they could host 400 people there, they had other plans. And so on the day of the event, myself and 3 friends, we stood under an umbrella in Leicester Square. Only one other person came, but we couldn't find her because Leicester Square's so big, and she only went there because she wanted to talk to me about her backpacking trips around Cairns. So that was my final evening in the UK. The event was a failure. There was nothing else I could do. No more pivoting. That was it. So for the next 2 weeks, while I backpacked around Europe, I'd get out my notebook and I'd write what went well, what didn't go well, what can I do better next time? And I wrote that again and again until it didn't make me feel emotional. And within 2 weeks, before returning to Australia, I started planning my next largest robot dance, Guinness World Record attempt. We had a venue confirmed in writing. We partnered with Improv Everywhere Melbourne to promote the event, and we had tens of people already signed up on our Facebook event. Within 2 months of returning to Australia, we had 350 people do the robot dance on the lawns of the University of Melbourne. We had media from all the major news outlets, TV stations, radio shows. It was so cool to go to the news agency the next morning, pick up all the newspapers that reported on our record-breaking attempt. And it was so cool to see ourselves in the news at night. So that event taught me that it's okay to fail. If you fail, you don't just disappear forever. If you fail, learn from your mistakes. It's even better if you can learn from other people's failures so you can avoid failure. But if you have to fail, then pick yourself up as quickly as possible and keep going. So that event was the opening event for our SIGN conference. We had 20 young women from around Australia come to Melbourne for 3 days, learn all about setting up their own RoboGals chapters, and then return to their hometowns to start their own chapter. And it was so successful that 6 months later, we returned to the UK and expanded around the UK to 5 chapters. And since then, we've held events all over the world, robotic art exhibitions on top of popular train stations, lessons all over the world, expos. We try to make our workshops around real-world problems so that they understand what they're doing in the classroom relates to the real world. So things around the environment, technology, being good to your body, being good to other people. We go to rural and regional areas everywhere. And a story I really like is our California Institute of Technology chapter were approached by Disney Pixar, and they said, please consult with us on a film about Tinkerbell, the first engineer. And so I think that in life, like, you should do your best with whatever you have in front of you. And if you do your best with what you have in front of you, then other opportunities will come your way. People will see your hard work, they'll see your integrity, they'll see your creativity, and they'll say, I want all those qualities, and I want it for my project, even though you've never done my project before, but we want those qualities in this project. And so I think that's a good lesson to learn. And now we hold our conferences across Europe and Africa, the Americas, and Asia Pacific every year. We have about 150 people who attend from the nearby countries, and they are all focused on learning the latest strategies to get girls interested in engineering and also forming community and friendships. We now have over 30 chapters in over 10 countries. We've taught over 150,000 girls our robotics workshops, and I was named the 2012 Young Australian of the Year by the Prime Minister of Australia on Australia Day on the steps of Parliament House in front of 1 million people for all of our work that we did with RoboGals. And it was an amazing year. I got to travel around, give lots of speeches, tell lots of kids about Dubai buildings, which they loved. And at the end of the year, I thought, I don't want to just tell girls that they can do anything that they want with engineering. I want to show girls that they can do anything they want with engineering. And so I signed up to a 3-month program at Singularity University, which was all around using exponential technologies to improve the lives of 1 billion people within the next 10 years. So we were given 150 different lectures during that summer, visited robotics workshops, shared our culture. So I shared Tim Tams, which is a chocolate, next to Vegemite on toast, which is looks like chocolate but does not taste like chocolate. And I became known as a girl who can't be trusted. We did a lot of team activities. And then at the end of 10 weeks of that, we were told, now that you've learnt all this knowledge, go and impact the lives of 1 billion people within the next 10 years. You have 2 weeks. And so, kind of like your building projects in Dubai, right? And so my team and I, we thought about the computer vision technology we saw of computers back then starting to recognize objects, and we thought, why don't we put that on the phone for blind people to recognize objects? And so we created iPoly.
Patio, chairs, cup, pot, cup, coffee cup.
Pepsi, cherry, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola. Trash bin.
You are looking at a new Apple earbuds.
Hey, wow, that is all right. That's like magic. I mean, I don't know how they can, wow, that's so impressive. I don't even know what to say. I'm just kind of shocked.
Toilet, roll. Toilet. Trash bin, socket, bathroom sink. Bathroom, door, kiwi green, flat green, light gray, dirty orange, pumpkin, dirty orange, silver, reddish, dark blue, wine red, maroon, wine red. A lavatory medium is full. A lavatory.
I would just love to take this thing and explore and just see what I find. It would be so cool.
So my team members and I from Italy and Sweden, we assembled a team together and we launched it a few months later at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And people were very, very excited about it. We showed it to the President of Italy, the Prime Minister of Australia. We had a lot of press coverage. People thought this was a really amazing technology. And so as a result, we've processed over 2 billion images, had over 500,000 downloads. And we thought, what else can we do with this technology? How else can we use this to make a difference? So we thought about the tourism space of recognizing objects or monuments and showing tourists around. We consulted with smart oven companies, smart refrigerator companies, and then we decided to work in the smart supermarket space of walking into a store, grabbing what you need, and then walking out without going up to the cash register to pay. Kind of like when you get in an Uber and you don't need to reach into your wallet and pay. Now this company, they work on data labeling for computer vision technology out of London. And I decided that I would go back and work on robotics. And I thought to myself, what is the simplest robot that I can build that would be useful to someone? And so I thought about telepresence robots, where you can be in multiple places at the same time. So you can be at home and have a robot in your factory, in your workplace. I got some friends together. We built our first version of this robot. It has a neck that goes up and down, so it can be various heights. It has a charger box to charge itself. My 80-year-old mentor saw me work on this prototype and said, now that I've seen how you work, I'm going to show you how to do things properly. And over the next few months, we built our second prototype together, which we launched on stage at the Sydney Opera House at TEDx Sydney. And now our robots are used by people like Ryan. He lives with his parents. His parents can just log into the robot during the day, drive it around his house, see what's happening. They don't have to ask as many questions. And so it's a more personal experience for Ryan and his parents to communicate. So there's a lot of use cases in the healthcare space, in the museum, education space, and in the workspace as well. It's like playing a video game, except if you drive the robot off a cliff, you have to buy a new robot. It's not like Super Mario where it respawns. There's also an app, and this was us making our first 100 robots in our office. We noticed that a lot of our users were people with disabilities, and so we thought, let's make a product that caters to them. And so we worked on a brain control interface for our users to be able to control the robot. And here you can see our first users using it.
I'm Anthony, I'm 36 years old. Had a car accident when I was 6 years old. Car broke my spinal cord at the highest level. And I can still use my brain, I can still talk. So it might sound that I'm pretty incapacitated, but if you only think of the good things, not too bad all in all.
And this bar down here is the attention, so the amount you're concentrating. As long as you bring it over that threshold bit, it's going to activate that mode, it's going to move forward.
So all you have to do is think, and once you get past it, the robot will move. So you just made the robot move with your brain.
Oh my god. Hey Chris. Oh, that's amazing.
So cool.
There you go. A real thrill finding a new ability. Go through a museum in America or wherever and see polar bears in the Arctic. You know, people with disability acquiring more abilities.
Like, everyone was like there. Literally, it's like I turned my head, well, I just turned the robot.
If you don't get out there, then you're never gonna know what exists. So, and I know the world's an amazing place. This world, I've never really got anything to move involved with my brain. So that was pretty unbelievable in that sense. I was on a big high actually achieving it. Didn't actually think I'd be able to do it.
This here is Rob. He was a farmer, and he was in a lightweight helicopter looking over his cattle when it malfunctioned and fell out of the sky, and he broke his spinal cord from his neck down, which means he can't move his legs, and he can only move his hand this much. There's about 5 million people around the world who have some form of paralysis. So I went and spoke to 200 people with limited upper mobility and their carers to ask them, how can I help? How can I be helpful? What can I do? And they said that they would want a robot arm that had curves, and so we made Jiva with these curves. They said they'd want something that was easy to store away, so we made it easy for Jiva to fold up. And they said they'd want something functional, so we paired it with their iPhones. This is a shortcut system where the grid is like X, Y coordinates, and the trapezoid is Z coordinates, so distance away from someone's wheelchair. And we made it easy to customize, as well as giving them the ability to create their own apps. And this here is Jeff. He's using our robot arm, and he has more mobility than Ryan, and he's using the robot arm to do relative motion in order to get himself some medication. And so you can see he can like move his arm a little bit more, Jeff. So this here would use like some of our apps where you can like program it to like toggle between 2 different positions. Picking up an object in a faraway place would use our grid coordinate system where you move your robot arm from the resting position to an X, Y, and Z position further away from the wheelchair to like grab something to bring it towards you. So how someone with a disability would sign their signature at a bank is they'd put a pen in their mouth and draw a cross sign. And so with this kind of technology, it means someone with a disability could get a carrot to help them draw a cross sign, and then at the bank or post office, the robot arm could do that signature again and again. And how someone with a disability could also use this robot arm is they could program 3 different positions. So position 1 would be spoon in front of someone's mouth. Position 2 was like spoon and bowl. Position 3 could be like spoon halfway between. And so the person could like play it really quickly if they wanted to drink soup really quickly, or they could press pause if they wanted to chat with their family, or press stop if they wanted their soup to cool a little bit. And so we're really excited about this kind of technology for people with disabilities, and it means that people like Rob are able to pick his hat up off the ground. He's able to pat his dog. He's able to open gates, and so it gives him a lot of mobility in his life. And next up with these projects is pairing the robot arm and the telepresence robot together, making an 8-degree of freedom movable robotic arm on a platform at a very, very cheap, low cost, because it uses the actuators from the base in order to create more degrees of freedom. And so with this use case, someone with a disability could, if they wanted a glass of water in the evening, they could click a button, and right now they might have to wait 30 minutes for a carer to get in their car, drive to them, give them their water. Carer says, do you need anything else? No, okay. Carer drives home. And so the carer, it takes an hour. For the person with a disability, they have to wait half an hour for their water. It's okay, it's fine, it takes a lot of time. With a robot like this, a person with a disability could press a button, a carer could log in through the robot immediately, get them the glass of water, and then log out and help someone else. And that way, the carer is using their time more wisely, or they're able to do higher value tasks with their time, and it'll be much faster to do tasks like these. And the person with disability gets what they want much quicker. They get their glass of water much quicker. And so, yeah, we're excited about using this kind of technology to. So I think what was interesting about this robot is a lot of robot arms, they prize the weight and the size, having a very small weight and a small size. And we thought, well, what if we change it around and we didn't care about those things as much, and instead we made it very bottom heavy so that it could counterbalance whatever was on its hand. So yeah, we're very excited about this technology. And so for all of my work in robotics and for helping people with disabilities, in 2019, I was named a member of the Order of Australia, which is a junior knighthood in Australia, and I was the youngest person to receive this award ever. Finally, I'd like to share one more project that I've been working on recently, which is also going back to my roots. So when I was 10 years old, I really wanted to learn coding, but there was nowhere for me to learn in my very isolated hometown of Cairns. And so I had to wait until university before I could learn. I learnt maths instead outside of school, and I really liked learning maths outside of school, and it gave me a lot of self-confidence, made me really good at maths. And so I thought, why don't I create a program that kids can do learning computer science outside of school from when they're 5 to when they're 17. And so I've been working on this for the past few years. Kids learn Python, Java, AI. For the younger kids, it's more image-based, where they learn about very fundamental coding concepts. And then after they get around the age of 10, they get into more complex topics. All of our exercises are around the environment, they're around technology. There's lots of stories about robots around space, about being good to other people, being good to yourself, looking after your health, looking after other people. And these, when they get a bit older, they get onto our Python exercises, and then they get onto our Java exercises. So in total, we have about 42,000 exercises that we're creating here that takes a kid from 5 years old to 17 years old. And so every exercise is incrementally more difficult than the last one. And so they're learning, but they don't feel like they're learning because it all feels like it's kind of the same level of difficulty. So these are some of the topics that they learn. Python, Java. It's very, very extensive, which is what's so exciting about it. And I don't know about you, but when I was in school, the teacher would tell us about something, but the thing that I was really excited about was just doing the exercise. I was I just want to do it, and then I'll learn from doing it. And so that's the idea behind this. It's we're just going to give you a lot of stuff to do, a lot of opportunities to code rather than just sit there and hear about it. This is some of our spreadsheets of us and our process of creating all of our Python, Java curriculums, advanced Python curriculums. We have a team of 146 people who've worked on creating these 42,000 exercises, and then a team of user testers, user testing everything. Right now we're looking to using LLMs to automate the user testing of our 42,000 exercises to speed up that process. And we started teaching kids Our model is going to be like an outside of school program where we teach kids more in small groups in an extracurricular setting. But just to like test our program, we've been teaching it in schools around, mostly in like low socioeconomic places in Australia, in the United States. And so far we've taught 9,000 kids. And so here's a graph here. We've managed to reach nearly 9,000 kids in 10 months through this new program, whereas in RoboGals it took us 5.5 years to reach 9,000 kids. And so I think that like in life, like I think it should be about like constantly challenging yourself, constantly learning more. Like whatever you do, give your best. But like the first time you do something, it's going to be hard. You're not always going to get, you know, the best outcome the first time. But that's okay. Just like keep taking those skills with you to the next thing, bigger projects, and you know you're able to achieve much more every time you do something similar to that project again. And so that's my story. If you'd like to share my story with your daughters, your sons, your nephews, your nieces, I wrote a book last year. It's a children's picture book. It's available on Amazon, so you can purchase my book, you can read it to your kids, and you'll be able to share my story with them. Thank you.